All right. So we are gonna do another OCG metagame breakdown since we did one last time, and now Alliance Insight has released over in the OCG, and this has changed up the metagame. So we're gonna report on that. Of course, we have brand new support for Maliss and Ryzeal. Most importantly, I think, alongside Orcus support with some White Forest additions, and Gem Knight now joins the fray as well. So I wanted to see how this really affected the metagame. We in the TCG will be getting Alliance Insight in April. I believe it's like April 30th is the street legal day. I know that because my birthday is April 29th. That's the only reason I know that. And so I don't think that's a flex. So yeah, no, let's see how let's see how this goes. So we have the first metagame breakdown, and we saw a lot of like tertiary like metagame breakdowns up until this, and I saw a few that said Maliss was the most represented deck because before this metagame, Maliss was the best deck for the most part. Now, it was in between Maliss, Orcus, and Blue Eyes, and then Ryzeal was like the fourth best deck, and this was post-ban list. Remember, you know, for reference, in the OCG, their ban list happened about a month ago, and this put X Ryzeal to 1 on top of banning Abyss Dweller, which, like, frankly, if we're looking at the state of the TCG, those are huge hits to Ryzeal. Both of them equally, I think, almost as hard of hits, in my opinion, because I think Dweller just is like our best Charmy line. It's like hitting Gimmick Puppet for Branded on some level. So we will, you know, so with that being said, Maliss ended up, I mean, we saw Blue Eyes take over for a few weeks, and then Orcus as well, and then Maliss closed it out, and now we are in the new meta. So with that being said, it was kind of like, would we see Maliss, would we see Orcus, would we see Blue Eyes, or would we see Ryzeal reclaim the crown, you know, or maybe a new contender? And we see from this breakdown, we have 27% Maliss with 19% Ryzeal, which is, you know, offhand a pretty staggering number. I think that's Maliss's like biggest number of breakdown for the OCG. Now that is nothing over 30%, so this is nothing near tier zero, and this looks like to be frankly like a fairly healthy like 2 deck meta, with 50% of the decks being Ryzeal and Maliss. But once again, this is post ban list where Maliss and Ryzeal were hit, so you know that might give us some hints of what we're going to see. But we see Orcus and then Blue Eyes taking the third and fourth spots respectively, which, you know, isn't too surprising to me offhand, with Orcus getting their new Link 1, which maybe Sam will be able to talk about a little bit because he's looked into that support a lot more than me. But I think that support has really pushed that deck to finally a spot where it's amongst like the top 3 to 5 decks once again. So, and we also see once again Blue Eyes, you know, with the structure deck support. You know, I think some people have been actually disappointed with Blue Eyes' you know, position in being a 3rd to 4th best deck at the moment. People are like, oh, why isn't Blue Eyes best deck? Like, oh, the hype's not great anymore. But I think this is a respectable, you know, 4th, that it's been very consistently like top 5. So then we see White Forest, Krishan, Gem Knight. So yeah, yeah, we'll just get into this breakdown. We saw 29 Maliss, and it's a bunch of different variants. We have like 5 Grass Maliss, 1 Grass Horus Bestial Maliss. So like in the OCG, they do have Grass Look Screener at 2, and also the 3 Fairy Tale Snow and Fairy Tale Snow. Imagine just running Fairy Tale Snow and Maliss, right? Like, and then we see 20 Ryzeal variants, and it's funny because it's just literally 20 Ryzeal, no parentheses. Like the OCG, it's so staggering how different the OCG and the TCG formats are some days, because, you know, Ryzeal has, they don't do other variants in the OCG for Ryzeal, where in the TCG, that's all we do with the deck. Like like pure Ryzeal is like the minority. So whereas pure Ryzeal has been the majority, you know, of course this is in the context of Fiendsmith Engraver being at 1 in the OCG. So of course this is just going to be a thing. So yeah, you know, I think Ryzeal got the biggest hit there, so it is surprising to see just from Star Ryzeal alone, because like let's check out like what Star Ryzeal even does, because Star Ryzeal just basically says you can special summon by detaching one material from a monster you control, and then if it's summoned this way, you get locked, and then on special summon you get to basically set a Ryzeal speller trap, so you're basically setting cross out from your deck, and you can basically cross before you go into duo drive, you know, or detonator, so you can obviously play through most hand traps. So I think that overall ended up actually making up a lot for Ryzeal. Of course, Ryzeal, like we look at these Ryzeal lists, like we'll see they're, you know, they still have Artifact Land Scythe, so we'll get to it. 7 Blue Eyes, 8 Orcust, 5 Primite Blue Eyes, 1 Bestial Primite Blue Eyes, 1 Buster Blader Primite Blue Eyes. That makes a lot of sense, right, Sam? Like, the Buster Blader stuff, just, like, ironically, as it is a Dragon Floodgate, it works perfectly still with Dragon archetypes, right?
Why Buster Blader? I'm just curious about, like, what Dragon deck are they trying to beat?
Blue Eyes.
I guess so. I guess they just have Maliss hate and Ryzeal hate elsewhere. That's just interesting to dedicate, like, a whole engine in your deck to that, but I don't know.
To be fair,
I mean, I know the Synchro makes all their monsters dragons, so it's kind of just a turbo floodgate. It's really good, but like, I don't know.
5 White Force, 4 Zamina, 1 Fiendsmith. That makes sense. I think even with 1 Engraver, I'm kind of surprised not to even see a Fiendsmith Ryzeal or anything like that. And they don't have Mitsurugi, so that makes sense. 4 Crystron, 1 Fiendsmith Crystron. I think Crystron is gonna, you know, this is gonna be a deck that, you know, when this video was recorded, you know, it just released, and we haven't gotten too much tournament performance outside of a few regional tops, but I do foresee this deck getting a few tops in YCS Orlando. And then we have 4 Gem Knight. This is going to be interesting because we don't have a deck list for this breakdown for it, but Gem Knight is a deck that is actually taking the OCG by storm, which surprised me because to me, I thought the Gem Knight cards were bad. Like, is the support that good, or is it just because OCG has Brilliant Fusion and Block Dragon?
Yes.
All right, well, I guess we won't see Gem
Both of those are correct.
I've seen some lists not even run Black Dragon, but like I'm presuming they had to be running Brilliant Fusion.
Oh, I mean, you can't play Gem Knight without that card.
It's banned over here, right?
Yep.
Oh, so I could see that coming back next ban list for that reason alone. Do you think Brilliant Fusion could come back in the TCG at 1?
I mean, yeah.
Would it do anything? Like, would any meta deck actually start throwing in Brilliant Fusions? Like a Brilliant Fusion if it was at 1. I feel like at 3, yes, but at 1, it's...
A Brilliant Fusion?
That's what I mean. Like, isn't it just gonna be for Gem Knights at that point?
I mean, I'm trying to logic out, like, I don't think it would really see play outside of Gem Knights, so I mean, it's probably okay.
We'll see. In surprise, there we go. In like a 10th most represented deck, Grass Branded. Let's go. Oh, then also Memento. Yeah, like I said, Memento is just like one of those OCG decks that always crops up in top 10, and Branded is also just like always a top 10 deck in OCG because it's just like, you know, they have Expulsion, they have Gimmick Puppet. Can you believe they have Gimmick Puppet and Expulsion legal in the OCG? That's crazy.
That's wild.
Into Grass, yeah. Oh, I wish we were.
Oh my god.
Yep. And then 310 Pi, 2 Atlantean. See, like, the new support actually still makes it viable even without Toad. Imagine if Toad was legal, though. Though. They really should just, I don't know. Like, they have Baron. Like, why not make Toad legal?
They hate that card, man. They hate that card.
2 Evil Twin live, or Evil Twin. So the new Evil Twin support is making an impact already. That's cool to see. 1 Ancient Gear, 1 Argo Star. Shout out to our Argo Star duelist that went against Sam earlier. And 1 Zamina Punk, 1 Dogmatica Regenesis. So Regenesis is one of those decks I feel like is going to be a tier 1 deck at some point. Does that make sense to you, like, on some level? Because Sam, because like they don't scream broken off the bat, but I just feel like that's one of those decks they're gonna get like a Nightmare Throne and like a Phantom of Yubel, and it's gonna like push the deck over the edge, you know, like cards that
They
there's
are they are already very solid cards.
mm-hmm.
So like the support that they get to make them meta might just make them like, I wouldn't say broken, just like you gotta worry about Regenesis, bro. Like, how are you gonna stop them from killing you?
Yeah, like they're
Because they can
grind
break a
game.
board like it's fucking nothing, dude.
Really, is that just their thing? I haven't read all the effects to a T.
As far as I can tell, they're giant monsters that uh let me take a look at these guys real quick.
I see people running them with the Kashtira cards in the OCG too. The very few they have
Yeah.
legal. That makes sense to me, to you, right? Like,
Yeah, Kashtira Unicorn has 2500 attack, so it enables you to summon your Genesis monsters while it's on field.
that's so broken. Oh god,
Yep.
we're keeping Unicorn at 3 for these things.
Yeah. Okay, so these guys are actually interactions like Plunder Patrol, where it's like they just interact with your opponent during their turn, but like they're very easy to put on the board. They've got huge attack values. Their consistency is good. Uh, they're all different types and attributes. So you play under Rivalry and Gozen, or no, you play under no, you don't play under those. You play under Tikaboo. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it.
One Fiendsmith Azamina Chimera, and then one Fiendsmith White Forest. Yeah, it's just one Fiendsmith Unchained, one Grass Tearlament shit all branded. So yeah, shout out to, I think that's Nets YuGiOh or Player, one of the two. And then one Labyrinth, one Mathemac Agnister, one Necros Magistus. Shout out to that guy. That sounds like a very cool deck.
I understand because like the Necros monsters make a generic rank 4. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just missing something.
Where's my Necros?
Maybe they do put 2 level 4 spellcasters on board. I couldn't tell you.
One Tri-Brigade Lyrilusk. Wow, that deck will never die, apparently. One Valence and one Voiceless Voice. So let's read the Maliss breakdown. This is the Maliss list that we have that was second place Lord of the Dragon card shop ranking tournament. So we have a lot of new cards in this deck. We have 3 Dormouse, 3 White Rabbit, and then we have 2 of the new Maliss. I believe it's called Hair Soldier?
March Hare.
March Hare. And then and then one Chesty Cat. March Hare is obviously a bestial for a dot. It's basically a Tearlament's Kashtira for Maliss, right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. And then we have 3 of the new Agnister cards, 4 of them. Those are the new ones, right? That's just not the one I was talking about the other day, right?
3 backup and 1 wizard.
3 backup and 1 wizard, okay. So
those cards are nutty.
Yeah, they're gonna be standard. What do they do?
So backup Agnister is a level 3 Cybers Dark. And its effect says if you control a Cybers monster that was special summoned from the extra deck, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 Dark Cybers monster from your deck to your hand, then discard 1 card.
Yeah, that's pretty solid, and especially. Then, yeah.
And Wizard is a level 4 Dark Cybers. It says if you control a Cybers monster that was special summoned from the extra deck, you can target 1 Dark Cybers monster in your graveyard. Special summon both this card and the targeted monster from your graveyard in defense position.
Yeah, so these cards are just going to become new staple pieces in the Maliss engine, as you guys see. And then we have one of the new quick play, which this card is just extraordinarily broken. You know, on Banished, dude, you get to banish a name in your graveyard and then search, like, basically, like, one with a different name. It's just so crazy.
I'm sorry, I just see the Apollosa in their extra deck and I'm just pissed, bro.
Yeah, they get that over there, which is funny because I'm pretty sure they can't make it most of the time. Like they can,
I don't see anything that locks you.
Oh, I thought they got Cybers locked at some point. Oh, it must be Link locked.
Yeah, I don't see anything that Cybers locks you except Splash Mage.
He's also running the new access code Talker, Link 5. This card's broken. It lets the deck play through Lancia.
Yep. Yeah, that card is nuts.
It's a Soul Charge and a Board Breaker, right?
It's negates.
Negates. Sorry. Yep.
Yeah.
And then Lancia, Meowless, Phantasme, Nib. So I guess we could read the breakdown. Maliss has received several new support cards from Alliance Insight. Malice P, March Hare, and Malice in the Mirror, which is the quick play spell, are direct in-theme support, and backup Addingnister and Wizard Addingnister, and A-Code Talker Addingnister are generic cyber support. Malice P, March Hare is a great addition to Malice. Its effect could special summon itself from hand by banishing another Malice from hand or graveyard. This gives Malice an in-theme effect to banish their own Malice monster from graveyard, but also puts a body on field similar to the Bestial monsters. Hare effect could also add a banished Malice monster to hand when Hare is banished. So it could add itself to hand, allowing Hare to indirectly searchable effects by the banished from deck effects such as Dormouse or Underground. And then Malice in the Mirror is the new Malice spell card. Malice in the Mirror effect could banish a Malice monster from your hand or field to negate the effect of a monster that the opponent controls, which is pretty crazy in my opinion. The fact it can banish on field, like, that's gonna come up a lot, I think, to like
Yeah, particularly because it's a quick play spell. That means like you can use it during your going second to dodge negates, but you can also just set it as an interruption. It's as flexible as Call by the Grave, you know. It's another Fluanderee's Advent scenario, except it's they do have to have a monster on board, so it's a lot more fair in that regard. But that's because Malice is a lot more unfair than decks like Fluanderee's.
Malice in the Mirror is the new Malice spell card effect. Yeah, I already read that. This is an option to add to hand with Malice Red Ransom effect when hit by the opponent's artifact Lancia. The truth strength of Malice in the Mirror lies in the second effect. When the Malice in the Mirror is banished, it could banish a Malice card from graveyard to add a Malice card from the same type from deck. Previously, Malice in Underground, the field spell, would banish Red Ransom from the graveyard directly, but now Malice in Underground could banish Malice in the Mirror from deck, which in turn would banish the Red Ransom from graveyard to add a Malice monster from deck to hand. And Red Ransom effect would then special summon itself from banishment and then banish the Chessie Cat from deck, and then Chessie Cat would special summon itself, and then its effect can be activated with the Malice in hand to draw 2 cards. That's broken.
That is broken. Wow, that just gives them a pot of greed.
Yeah, right.
Bruh. Nah, man, that's nah.
Backup Addingnister, Wizard Addingnister, and that's such a stupid name. And a Code Talker Addingnister, or no, those are 2 names. Are new Addingnister support cards, but their effects function as Dark Cybers monsters, which allow them to synergize with Malice. Both Backup and Wizard effects special summon themselves from hand when you control Cybers. It's like Sam said, and allowing them to be extenders that work even under the effect of Lancia. Backup Addingnister adds 1 Dark Cybers from deck to hand, which could be a Malice monster or Wizard, being a Cybers tuner, which allows it to be added to hand with Cybers Wicked effect. Cybers adding...
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
yeah, Backup's a tuner.
Yep. And then
yeah, no, it's because it's an Addingnister monster. They needed another level 3 tuner, so you didn't have to lean on Baruru every single game. And that's why Wizard is a 4, because it's supposed to make the new level 7 Synchro Firewall Saber Dragon in Addingnister, but they're not doing it here.
No, they are
That's
not.
why it's a tuner. Their levels add up to 7. That's why.
Wizard Addingnister effect special summons itself from hand and a Dark Cybers monster from graveyard to field, which could be a Malice monster. That's so broken. And then A-Code Addingnister is another option for the end board. It can special summon as many Cybers monsters with 2300 attack from your graveyard, which could be the Malice Link monsters, because they all have 2300, and its other effect, contribute a Link monster to negate the activation of a card or effect and banish that card. However, the addition of the card to the Malice deck is still in contention, because a Code Talker Addingnister effect to special summon as many Cybers monsters with 2300 attack from your graveyard. It could limit your sequencing, as its effect has to be activated first to tribute Whitebinder, so that GWC could special summon it later. Oh, okay. So it can kind of mess up the sequencing if you end on it. So it might not be always optimal. I just think it's like the best thing under Lancia. So people are still gonna like run it for those scenarios. But for that reason, I could see them like not ending on it without the Lancia setup.
Yeah, they might just settle for like an Aboaku board or something.
Yeah, like I still think that's fine for the most
Are
part.
they even playing it in this deck?
No, I think that's because they have Apo though, which makes sense. I think Apo is just better
No,
than
that's
Abaku.
fair. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like I've
So over
talked.
here, you might see like Aboaku as a lot more common of an end board piece in Malice than A code. A code's for when like they have everything.
Also, I think Abaku having a discard, you needing to discard for the effect, also hurts its viability in Malice because you get rid of all. You're discarding hand traps essentially at that point or follow up.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's what I was talking to Raul about before, but you know, I think it's still really broken, especially with Nightmare Griffin plays. But yeah, so let me finish this little blurb. To keep Malice Whitebinder in the graveyard, some players would play Apollosa, Bow of the Goddess, in the left extra deck monster zone, and then link summon A Code Talker Adignister to the first main monster zone, leftmost, in parentheses. This would block most of A Code Talker Adignister link arrows except for the one pointing to the right, which means that Red Ransom would be special summoned by the effect. Which means only Red Ransom would be a special summon by the effect. Oh, you have to special summon as many as possible? This allows... Yeah, this allows GWC to be activated during your opponent's draw phase to special summon Whitebinder, while still giving A Code Talker Adignister as protection against the opponent's called by on Whitebinder. Yeah, you actually have to worry about called by on Whitebinder in the OCG since that card's at 2.
Yep.
That's just like a non-existent interaction in the TCG.
Oh, it exists.
I've yet to come across it.
No, I know. I'll Ash Blossom it. Yeah.
Oh
man, dude,
yeah.
the side deck. The red reboot.
Oh yeah, Red Reboot, man. Do you think Red Reboot
That's
could ever
something
come
else.
to do you think Red Reboot could ever come to TCG, or do you think it should come back to TCG?
It was just such an awful design, and like everybody absolutely hated it. Like, I just don't see it, man.
You don't
Like
like
it
Red
could,
Reboot?
because like, oh, the Dominus cards, they beat my deck. They're too good. Cry about it, bro.
My branded
Reboot's
fusion.
not the answer.
Yeah, that's what people were saying when when Dominus Impulse came out for Branded Fusion. I heard some viewers say like Dominus Impulse should or Red Reboot should come back, and I'm just like,
No.
it hurts us as much as it will hurt you know, like that. You
Yeah,
know?
like it like I always say, that shit hurts every deck.
Yeah, so this looks like a standard list. I think that was interesting to find out why they run Cyber's Wicked. It's also, that was really good information to find out about the new access code talker, because that means that thing's a lot worse than I thought it was, honestly. Like,
It's still broken.
it's still broken for sure, but it requires like you to play awkwardly to make it as optimal as possible, which I think is an issue for a deck that likes to play as freeform as possible as a link deck. So I don't know.
Makes sense.
It's just still so broken, so I guess I see why they did that. Or else it would just like literally be like the best thing ever. All right, so here's the Ryzeal blurb. A lot less. So this probably means that Malice will be our best deck after a ban list, but we'll have to see you know what the ban list does, because we always end up doing something different in the TCG. So this is the Ryzeal list, obviously looking a lot different over here because they have a card called Seventh Tachyon, which is basically a bonfire that makes you go -1, but also allows you to search out Artifact Lancia, which is very relevant against the Malice and Crystron decks. So yeah, let's read the blurb and get to our conclusion on the meta. Excuse me. Star Ryzeal is the new Star support card from Alliance Insight. When Star Ryzeal is special summoned, its second effect could set a Ryzeal spell or trap from the deck. This is a great boost to Ryzeal, as it provides an additional way to fetch Ryzeal Cross, which is their, you know, field spell negate. As mentioned in previous tournament reports, Ryzeal heavily relies on having Ryzeal cross shuffle back X Ryzeal for the following turns. I feel like when I read this before, I was like, this was not great writing right here. It's like it's like sure, it's like I think it's just good for the grind game. I don't know if it's specifically good for X, but like especially in a
Well, it's
build.
because it's limited over there.
Oh, you are correct on that. I'm just stupid. My
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, you need that 1-of back in your deck, bro. You got to search it out again and use it again.
Number 102, Star Seraph Sentry is being played over number 104 Masquerade in the extra deck, as it is a light fairy that could be used with Metal Tronus to negate the opponent's artifact Scythe. How does that make you feel, Sam?
They should ban Scythe.
Sakitama in the main deck is also a light fairy that could be used for the same purpose with Metal Tronus. I love how much of an imaginary place the OCG is. I love the OCG, man.
It's like Neverland, dude.
Like seriously, shout out to like this is not to talk trash on the OCG. I just like once again they are the trailblazers for most things when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh.
Dude, the red reboot. It's got to be
ban
in every
list,
side
man.
deck.
Their ban list is out there. Like they really. I think OCG players also they don't like it themselves. I remember OCG players like complaining the last 3 ban lists. They go on Twitter and they're like, "This is the worst shit ever." Like,
dude.
It's like I don't know. I feel for them, man. Like I that's why I do think like we see Maxx the 2, which it's like, where's the Maxx limit? Where's that? Or do they have to like fix the rest of the game before they do that? Like, can they actually ban Maxx before they ban like Baron, Apo?
No, I understand that argument where they have to fix the rest of the game before banning Maxx, but like, oh man, that just shows how drastically wrong they were for the past like 13 years.
Are you counting since Maxx has been like no, Maxx got limited in like 2017.
That I'm giving it a year since its release because it didn't really see play until about like a year and a half after.
Fun fact, Maxx was a TCG exclusive as well, so we gave the OCG the Maxx. That shit was like herpes.
All I'm saying is it took years for us to ban it. I don't know why, but we banned it.
Yeah, that was like a surprise. That was like the turn, in my opinion, of like when the TCG started making better like decisions on the metagame than the OCG in general. I don't know. I felt like TCG had issues before that. Like if you look at like the Tengu plant ban list, I thought that was actually not that great. But I don't know. Like I don't know. And then they like kind of I don't know. Konami's gotten a lot better about their balancing, and I think it's like really paid off with like just having a more skillful metagame, in my opinion, between like what the TCG and the OCG presents, for better or for worse. Like I think the OCG is a lot more reliant on just like trading floodgates, essentially. Like you are just literally trading floodgates. Like look at these side decks in this in main decks. Like you have 6 Maxx in the side deck, 3 Lancia, and then like 2 Mulcharmy with Shifter,
a reboot.
Yeah, the reboot, and it's like 3 Lancia, 1 Scythe, 2 Sanctum, like 6 Mulcharmy, like Maxx. Like if you look at any OCG gameplay, it's just like it's like 3 floodgates going off in at least 1 game between each player. Like so yeah, this is interesting to see that Ryzeal is able to reclaim the 2nd place, because Ryzeal prior to this was actually about in the 5th place contention after X Ryzeal went to 1. It was looking really bad for Ryzeal, with Dweller being banned. You know, Dweller helping Ryzeal just like have an option to put down under Mulcharmy or just against Crystron or the, you know, I mean, in the OCG, a lot of the rogue decks, there isn't really, I mean, in Fiendsmith as well, I think it's like Dweller helped a lot.
Dweller ban is why Orcust had its numbers.
Yes, I think that also like is helping Crystron and Orcus and the Atlantean, frankly, you know.
Yeah. It helps them more than it hurts them. Yeah, they were playing the card, but like you don't need Dweller.
Yeah.
You
So
played it because of the funny 500 attack boost because you actually had water materials.
it feels so good when you have a Dweller with 2200. That's actually
Yeah.
one of the just feel like a man with a big old whacking like a big old hammer. Like it's
Yeah, like you just feel so safe behind a 2200 dweller, 1700 dweller. It's like he's so small.
uh please don't ban Dweller over here. Actually, please do, but because they should just get rid of lingering floodgates, frankly. Like I do think Lancey and Dweller should go, but that's a whole nother end shifter, but
I don't know, man. I really don't know.
you don't think so?
I mean, dweller is an extra deck card, so the reason that dweller gets banned is not because its interaction itself is super messed up. It gets banned because there are a bunch of decks that will just make it, or one deck that can make it pretty much, or sometimes every single game, and then it becomes a truly unfun play pattern. So, like, YuGiOh is the reason that Dweller got banned because there's a deck in the meta that can, like, it breathes rank fours onto the field, dude. Like, um, so that, like, being an extra deck monster, like, yeah, as soon as a deck comes out that can put this thing out no problem, then it's ban worthy. But like Lancia, bro, that's a main deck card. You have to like play Thrust into Sanctum in order to have any consistency beyond opening it in your hand. Or like
I think Lancia needs to be in the game until like White Binder gets banned. And that's like not even
uh
like a facetious like that's like not like I'm not saying this is objectively true. I'm just like this is why I genuinely believe. Like I think Malice is too good of a deck for Lancia not to be a card.
but
I
that's how like all the banished decks are though, except for exclusively Goaty, because um Goaty was just put into the game during a really tumultuous time, so it didn't really have the chance. It does now, but like Lancia just destroys that deck, dude.
yeah, it catches like the ultimate stray from Lancia being in the format.
Yeah, man. Like every single banished deck ever loses to Lancia, and not like, oh, I can play around it. Like it ends their turn. Malice can play around Lancia with the new cards, so I don't think it needs to go. But like that just makes it annoying, lingering floodgate that sticks around, just waiting for a deck that can get it hyper consistently. So like, do you just preemptively hit it? Then you have decks like Orcust and Crystron rise up because there's no Lancia in the format. There's no Dweller. Like,
I'm curious if they're gonna ban Dweller over here. Like I feel like that OCG hit of them hitting Dweller felt like a very across the board hit. Like if that makes sense. I feel like there's certain hits that will like come across on Master Duel, mainly in OCG though, because they're typically the first ones to let things through. But there are like, and sometimes TCG does this too with Maxx, obviously, but it takes a while. But like, there will be a certain hit that happens on a list that starts a chain reaction for the other formats to hit this card. Like this
well,
is
it's just because. Oh, sorry, continue.
I was just to say this happens with cards that get banned, or this happens with cards that come back, right?
Yeah, this is one of those hits that feels like it's more on principle
Yeah, yeah.
than like on uh the cards power across like a multitude of various decks. Although it is very powerful in a multitude of various decks, like we can all agree if you're playing a graveyard deck and your opponent summons Dweller, that shit ain't fun. It never has been fun. It never will be fun. And I know that Yu-Gi-Oh isn't all about like, we're trying to, you know, skip down the yellow brick road and have a wonderful time, but like it would be really cool to not have that shit come from the extra deck specifically. Because cards like VFD and stuff like that, I mean, extra deck floodgates. It's got an inevitability to it that main deck cards can't.
Shout out to Sanctifier. It's not even a floodgate; it
Yeah,
just enables it so hard that it's effectively the
yeah,
same
but
thing.
like it being in the extra deck just means you don't need to draw Sanctifier. You just need to draw a way to fusion summon, and Branded has like I don't
Every
know
two
an entire
cards
main deck's
go,
worth of that.
yeah, like every card goes to that.
Yeah, like It's the same thing with Ryzeal. Like, you don't need to draw Dweller, you just need to draw any non-node Ryzeal, and in this case, non-star Ryzeal as well. But you know what I mean. Like, if you see anything Ryzeal, you're putting Dweller on your end board. That's just how the deck operates.
Conclusion. Alliance Insight has had quite the impact on the metagame. The themes from deck building pack crossover breakers received a new wave of support cards that pushed Maliss and Ryzeal to the top of the format. So yeah, that is shout out to Road to the King. I'm gonna link them down in the description for the actual VOD. For the actual article if you guys want to read it yourself. I recommend these. They are great to get a good idea of like what's coming down the line, and to get like strategies. Like now we know what the access code stuff does. Now we know what the adding Nister stuff does. Like now we know what all the new Malice stuff does, including like the interaction. So these are very important things, and I think conclusion that what we can take away. We kind of did a lot of analysis as we were going through, so we won't do too much here at the end, but it is one of those things where post ban list, we're going to be looking at a Malice and Ryzeal meta. Like we will obviously have post Alliance Insight. I think post ban list, I think we will get a ban list probably in March. And then we will get Alliance Insight in April. So there will be like a month or two where like Blue Eyes, Orcus, and Malice are probably best decks, and Ryzeal might be. It depends on how hard they hit Ryzeal. I don't think they're going to hit Ryzeal that hard over here. I think they will ban Dweller. I think that Bonfire will go to 1. I don't think they'll also put X to 1. I think doing all 3 would be quite insane to me for a new deck, even for a tier for a tier 1. I just they haven't. Sorry, if you want to continue, or if you want to go say what you were going to say.
All I'm saying is if X goes to 1 on this next ban list, I will be like that obviously is a good thing for me considering I don't play Ryzeal, but also I will be shocked because like that's like a Nightmare Goblin level hit where it's just like it doesn't even really get to be in the game for that long. Yeah, it'd still be at 1 copy, but like bro, it would be wild if they hit that card at this point.
It is don't get me wrong. It's like Snake Eyes Ash. The card is meant to be at 1. Does it deserve to be at 1 immediately? I don't think so.
If it deserved to be at 1 immediately, it should have came out limited, but they haven't done that shit since like what 2009.
They at least
no,
let
because they did
decks be
6 cents in
playable.
2015.
And like, unless it's extraordinarily toxic, they deemed the super heavy to be extraordinarily toxic to be hit early.
Yeah, but that was 2 weeks after Wakaushi came out. It was only 2 weeks, but still, like, it had time in the game. They don't print cards limited.
What's up, Baby Otter Games? Nice to see you, brother. If you're still in the chat, sorry I missed you. We were just going off me here in Smam's YuGiOh. I can make Dweller and Salad, says Magic Geek. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah. Every deck under the fucking sun can make Dweller, bro.
I could theoretically
many
make it
decks
in
out there that are capable of making a rank 4. Ryzeal's just the one that does it the most consistently because it's all they do. But yeah, decks like Salad, I mean, you could play Parallel Exceed if you want to in order to make a free Dweller on your Cybersend board. Salad can make one naturally if you're playing Foul because you summon Jack Jaguar and then you go Foul and there's your rank 4. There are so many decks out there that can make Dweller, man. Like it's not just Ryzeal, it's just Ryzeal put Dweller on the board so often that it was like
it was just
there are other rank
face.
4s in the game that Ryzeal can play. We're just gonna cut this shit out of the game because it's fucking unfun as hell.
I mean, people wanted it banned in tier limit format, like it's had a target on its back for a long time.
Yeah, it's not because we want it's not because the tier players want it. The tier players didn't want it unbanned, or they didn't want it banned. It's not like, oh, it beats my deck and that's why I want it hit. No, the non-tier players were like, dude, what are we doing? Like, this meta is just forcing everyone to play a deck that can make Abyss Dweller, and no one is having fun.
Well, okay. Let me make a small correction on the tier limit format, because wasn't it just Flu in tier once it was the Ishizu stuff, like like essentially.
Yeah, but that's because
Sorry.
That's because Flu was on Dimension Shifter.
And also, they they I mean, they didn't run Dweller, but essentially they could play in the confines of what Tier Limit was doing pretty well. And I think it was a lot of the Tier Limit players who ended up wanting Dweller to be banned because it ruined the mirror match. You know, it's like
Oh,
Maliss mirror match, right? Except you can just make
I
Lancia from your extra deck. That like imagine
right.
that.
I'm not saying that the tier players didn't want it unbanned. I'm just saying there were people other than tier players crying about it too. That was my point. Sorry if I
Oh
wasn't
yeah, I
like a
remember. Like
million percent
you
clear on
played
that. But yeah,
Dweller.
like
You played Dweller in Marincess during tier format. You
I
know,
played two dwellers instead of Bahamut Toad.
that's crazy to think about. Honestly, that was like probably definitely correct.
I made the second dweller against you at locals once. I don't know if you remember, but I summoned a dweller. I dwellered you. You killed it. It came back to my turn. I made a second dweller and you conceded. And I was like, it's always the second dweller that gets him. Should be limited.
Yeah, the OCG saw that and they were like, we can't let this stand. Um,
Too powerful. Yeah, dweller is just an interesting card, man.